13 beautiful animals that can kill you in 30 seconds. There's a lie that nature keeps repeating. It dresses its most dangerous creatures in bright colors, gentle shapes, and captivating patterns. And we fall for it, every single time. Millions of years of evolution have conditioned us to gravitate toward beauty, and nature uses that against us like a trap. Today, we're unveiling 13 cases, 13 beings that will make your hand instinctively reach for your camera, or, worse, to touch. Each of these can kill you faster than you can realize what went wrong. So, hit that like button if you want to see all 13, and leave a comment. Which animal from this list do you think you would most likely try to pet, unaware of the truth? Your answers fuel our future wildlife investigations. Animal 1. The blue-ringed octopus. Beauty the size of an orange, venom the size of a truck. Imagine this. You're wading in the shallow waters off the coast of Australia. The water is warm and clear, with white sand and colorful stones beneath your feet. Suddenly, something incredible crawls onto your palm. Small, soft, about the size of a golf ball. Its body shimmers in golden brown hues, and stunning rings, blue, electric, almost neon, drift slowly across its skin. They pulse like the lights of a nightclub, like the glow of a phone screen in the dark, mesmerizing and alive. You look at it and think one thing: how beautiful. That thought might last until the moment it bites. The blue-ringed octopus is one of the most photographed sea creatures in the world. Tourists specifically search for them, divers squeal in delight when they find one, and kids pick them up with their bare hands. The problem isn't that they're unaware of the danger. It's that the bite of this octopus is almost impossible to feel. It doesn't burn, it doesn't cut, and it leaves no mark. Its tiny beak pierces the skin so delicately that many victims only realize they've been bitten when their body begins to fail. Inside this creature is tetrodotoxin, a venom for which there is no antidote. Nowhere in the world, in no hospital or pharmacy, is there a treatment that can halt what begins after a bite. Tetrodotoxin acts like a switch, systematically shutting down nerve signals throughout the body. First, your lips and tongue go numb. Then your fingers stop responding. Next are your legs. Finally, your diaphragm, the muscle that makes you breathe, simply stops. It's not painful or dramatic. It just ceases to work, like a battery running out of power. And the person who moments ago was snapping photos of a beautiful octopus now lies fully aware, hearing everything around them, seeing the sky or the ceiling, and unable to breathe. The countdown begins. In 1991, off the coast of Darwin, a young Australian named Jake picked up one of these octopuses right on the beach and placed it on his hand for a photo. He didn't feel a thing. 10 minutes later, he was sitting there, saying he felt a slight tingling. 20 minutes in, he collapsed. His friends had to perform mouth-to-mouth resuscitation on the shore for several hours until help arrived. The only thing that can save someone who has been bitten is a ventilator, which breathes for them until the poison is eliminated from their system. If there's no one around, the story ends on the beach. By the way, the blue rings don't always appear. In a relaxed state, the octopus looks just like a small brown stone with soft edges. The rings light up when it feels threatened or agitated, right when it's already in someone's hands. Nature has created the perfect trap. The warning appears just when it's too late to retreat. It's said that in the waters of the Indo-Pacific region, there are enough blue-ringed octopuses for their venom to kill 26 adult humans simultaneously, each, individually. But if you think the octopus is the most unexpected creature on our list, the next animal will make you rethink everything you know about birds. Our next star looks like a picturesque painting of a tropical paradise. It is the only poisonous bird in the world that kills not with a sting or teeth, but simply through a touch of its feathers. Animal 2, the two-colored poison frog bird, a bird you must not touch. In 1992, American ornithologist Jack Dumbacher was working in the jungles of Papua New Guinea. He was setting bird traps when he accidentally cut his hand on the feather of a small bird with orange and black plumage. Automatically, he put his finger in his mouth. Almost immediately, he felt a burning sensation on his tongue, numbness in his lips, and a strange tingling that lasted for several hours. As a scientist, Dumbacher didn't discard the bird or forget the incident. He took it back to the lab. What the researchers discovered turned ornithology upside down. The feathers, skin, and internal organs of this bird contain batrachotoxin, one of the most potent neurotoxins on the planet. The same toxin that resides in the skin of South American tree frogs, which indigenous people use to coat their arrow tips. Until that moment, science had believed that poisonous birds didn't exist. Nature simply hadn't informed science of its plans. The two-colored poison frog bird lives in just one location on Earth, the forests of New Guinea. It is medium-sized, slightly larger than a starling, and looks as if a painter in high spirits had decorated it, a rich rusty orange on its chest and sides, with a coal-black head, wings, and tail. The contrast is sharp, almost theatrical. Among the tree canopy, it resembles a living gemstone, amber set in black. The local people in New Guinea call it the garbage bird and never eat it. Not because they dislike it, but because they know it's bitter. Bitter through and through, from its beak to its tail feather. And that bitterness is no metaphor. The batrachotoxin in the feathers of the poison frog bird works differently from most poisons. It does not kill instantly upon contact with the skin. It begins to take effect if the toxin gets onto mucous membranes, in the eyes, mouth, or nose. Local hunters who accidentally handled the bird reported similar sensations, a burning sensation in their fingers, numbness creeping up their arms. If ingested, the loss of feeling in the tongue could last for hours. At sufficiently high concentrations, batrachotoxin blocks sodium channels in nerve cells, effectively freezing the muscles in an open position. The heart struggles to contract properly, breathing becomes difficult, and the outcome is predictable. The strangest and almost detective-like aspect of this story is the source of the bird's poison. The pitohui does not produce the toxin itself. It acquires it from its food, tiny beetles from the genus Coracine, which the bird consumes in large quantities. These beetles accumulate the toxin from plants. Thus, a chain forms, plant to beetle to bird to death. Birds raised in captivity on regular feed are completely harmless. The toxin literally comes from the outside and settles in the feathers like armor. Nature has found a way to equip a creature that neither runs fast, bites hard, nor hides, simply by making its touch dangerous. There's another hard-to-grasp fact. Researchers have discovered that the pitohui has developed a genetic mutation that renders its own nerve cells insensitive to batrachotoxin. This means the bird carries a poison that would kill any other creature its size, and it is completely unaware of it. It flies, sings, feeds its chicks, and basks in the sun. It simply lives on, and the toxin lies within each feather like a quiet safeguard against the world. Ornithologists continue to debate whether predators instinctively know about the pitohui's toxicity or learn from bitter experience. Some snakes and hawks still attack these birds, only to act as if regretting that decision afterward. Observers have recorded instances of a predator, having caught a pitohui, suddenly dropping it and rubbing its beak against a branch, clearly trying to rid itself of the burning sensation. Meanwhile, the bird flies away unscathed. Here, beauty does not serve as bait, but as a warning. Bright colors say, "Stay away." But this warning only works for those who already understand the language. By the way, Dumbacher did not abandon this topic after his first discovery. He dedicated the next years to studying poisonous birds of New Guinea and found several other species with similar properties. The world of birds turned out to be far more dangerous than science believed 20 years ago. And if the poisonous bird in the jungles of Papua seems distant and exotic to you, the next creature lives in rivers that people use for bathing, fishing, and even baptisms. It resembles living silver and lacks any bright warning colors, just quiet water, and you're in it. Animal 3, the electric eel, a river that shocks. In 2016, biologist Kenneth Catania from Vanderbilt University was filming a routine scientific experiment. He placed a conductive prosthetic hand connected to sensors into a tank with an electric eel. What the devices recorded made him reshoot the video several times, just to confirm that the equipment wasn't malfunctioning. At the moment of attack, the eel didn't just deliver a shock. He leaped out of the water, clasped onto the hand, and began methodically increasing the pressure as he moved higher along the limb. The higher he climbed, the more intense the jolt became. This wasn't panic or a reflex, it was strategy. The electric eel attacked like a clever opponent, well aware of its enemy's anatomy, striking where it hurts the most. Katanaya sat behind the glass, watching with the expression of someone who has just realized they misunderstood the nature of things for the last 30 years. First off, an electric eel is not really an eel. That's the essential fact. Despite its name and shape, it's more closely related to carp and catfish than to true eels. It resides in the murky waters of the Amazon and Orinoco rivers and their flooded plains. It can grow up to 2.5 meters long and weigh up to 20 kilograms. Its body is a grayish-olive, slippery form without scales, at first glance just a large river fish, like thousands in tropical waters. Nothing frightening. Nothing that would make you hesitate before entering the water. However, within this body are 3 specialized electric organs that occupy 80% of its total mass. The main organ, called the Sachs organ, can produce electric charges of up to 850 volts. For comparison, a European household socket provides 220 volts. A shock from a household outlet can be painful and dangerous, but the shock from an electric eel is like having 4 of those outlets applied directly to your body in water that conducts electricity in all directions. Your muscles seize up instantly. You lose control of your body, fall face first into the water, and drown. Not from the shock, but because you can't move to swim back up. This is how most people meet their doom when encountering an electric eel. Not from cardiac arrest, though that can happen with direct contact, but from drowning. The body simply stops obeying at the worst possible moment. Grazers in the Amazon are well aware of this danger. When a herd crosses a river and encounters a few eels, the animals start dropping into the water one after another. Not because they've been bitten, but simply because the electric discharge radiates out in waves, like ripples from a thrown stone, affecting everyone within a few meters. Alexander von Humboldt, the scientist after whom a cold oceanic current is named, described the local people's hunting methods for electric eels as early as 1810. The method was barbarically simple. Horses were driven into the river to stir up the eels from the bottom and provoke them into discharging. The eels would expend their energy on the horses, tire themselves out, and then they could be safely captured in nets. Horses often drowned in the process. Humboldt observed this from the shore, recording in his journal that the scene was both thrilling and horrifying. Over 200 years have passed. The method has changed, but the eels remain the same. There's one more detail that makes this fish an even more troublesome river neighbor. The electric eel breathes air. Every 10 to 15 minutes, it surfaces to gulp in oxygen. This means it doesn't hide in deep waters or avoid shallow areas. It constantly travels between the bottom and the surface, right where people swim, wash dishes, or wade across rivers. During the rainy season, when the Amazon rivers overflow and flood the forests, eels venture into places where no one expects them: flooded fields, trails, and gardens. They show up literally everywhere the water reaches. Scientists long believed that electric eels use their high-voltage discharges only for hunting and defense. However, Catania's experiments revealed a third function no one had suspected. The eel can use weak, low-voltage pulses to control the victim's muscles from a distance. It sends out a series of short shocks that cause its prey, whether fish or frog, to spasm involuntarily, revealing its location in murky waters, even if it sits completely still and hidden. The eel detects this movement, zeroes in, and strikes with precision. It uses electricity as sonar, as remote control, and as a weapon all at once. In villages along the Amazon, children are taught one rule from the moment they start going to the river: don't enter murky water if you can't see the bottom. Not because there are crocodiles or piranhas, but because in murky water, there may be something waiting that you won't see, feel, or hear until the moment it decides you're too close. However, so far we've been discussing creatures that attack on contact or in moments of danger. The next animal on our list doesn't attack. It simply exists. It breathes, it crawls, and just one bite can set off a process in your body that modern medicine has only learned to stop in the last few decades. Before that, the survival rate was much different. Animal number 4. The cone snail, the slowest hunter with the fastest venom. Imagine an auction for rare shells. London, 1799. In the hall are collectors, traders, people with money and good taste. On a tray lies a shell, white, adorned with a neat brown pattern resembling a map of an unknown continent. Elegant, heavy, perfectly cone-shaped. It sells for more than a Vermeer painting featured at the same auction. The buyer is thrilled. The shell is sent to a glass case. No one in the room realizes that a living specimen of that very shell, the geographic cone, can kill a person faster than they can reach the door. Cone snails are among the most sought-after shells in the world. There are about 700 species living in tropical seas, and nearly every one is beautiful in its own way. Striped, spotted, with fine lines and intricate geometric patterns that look like the handiwork of a jeweler. Tourists pick them up on the beaches of Thailand, the Philippines, Australia, and the Maldives. Divers photograph them on the reefs. Kids take them home as souvenirs. This happens thousands of times a day all over the world, and in most cases, it ends well. Most of the time, inside every cone snail lies a unique apparatus unlike anything found among mollusks. It has a long, flexible siphon with a hollow tooth at the end, essentially a harpoon that can be shot in any direction, even backward or toward the hand holding it. The speed of this shot is so quick that there's barely any time to react. The sting is almost painless, thinner than a sewing needle. And that's just the beginning of what nature has spent millions of years evolving this mechanism for. The venom of the cone snail is known as conotoxin. It isn't just one toxin. It's a cocktail of hundreds of peptides, each targeting a specific part of the nervous system. Some block signal transmission between neurons, while others paralyze muscles or interfere with heart function. Nature has crafted not just a weapon, but a multi-layered system for disabling living organisms, where each component operates on its own and enhances the effects of the others. For the geographic cone snail, the most dangerous of all species, the mortality rate from its stings can reach about 70% without treatment. There is no antidote. The only form of treatment is supportive care, breathing apparatus, IV drips, and time. Either the body manages to cope or it does not. In 1955, on a beach on Darwin Island, Australia, a 27-year-old man picked up a beautiful cone shell and slipped it into his shorts pocket. Moments later, he felt a prick in his thigh and thought he had caught it on a sharp edge. By the time he reached the hotel, about a 20-minute walk, his face began to numb and his legs started to give out. 4 hours after the sting, he was dead. Throughout this time, he was fully conscious, aware of what was happening, yet unable to do anything. The doctors who arrived could only observe. In the 1950s, no treatment protocols existed for such cases. They simply hadn't been developed yet due to their rarity, and science was lagging behind nature. The most counterintuitive aspect of the cone snail is that it is a hunter, slow and seemingly motionless, yet a hunter nonetheless. Most species feed on worms and mollusks, but a few dozen specialize exclusively on fish. Fish are fast and skittish, reacting to the slightest movement. The snail can't chase them down. Therefore, it paralyzes them before they even comprehend what's happening. The harpoon darts out, the venom takes effect in mere moments, the fish freezes in place, and the snail methodically, at its own pace, begins to consume it. From the outside, it appears almost surreal. An utterly still cone snail next to a frozen fish, with no movement, just slow, inevitable consumption. Scientists studying conotoxins have long discovered unexpected potential in this venom. Some peptides from cone snail venom possess pain-relieving effects that are hundreds of times more potent than morphine, without the risk of addiction. In 2030, a drug called ziconotide was developed based on one of the conotoxins, and it is now used to treat chronic pain in cancer patients when standard painkillers are no longer effective. A venom that claimed the lives of dozens on beaches is now easing suffering in hospital wards. Nature has once again proven to be smarter than it seems. On the beaches of Southeast Asia, souvenir cone shells, sometimes still alive, unaware they've become merchandise, are still sold. The safety instructions are simple, yet rarely shared. Never hold a cone snail in your hand, as its harpoon can reach any point on the shell's surface. Always hold it by the wide base, not the narrow end. Better yet, don't hold it at all. If the story of the deadly snail sounds like a rare maritime curiosity, the next creature doesn't hide in the ocean or live in the Amazon River. It inhabits urban neighborhoods, warehouses, fruit markets, and basements across multiple continents. It's smaller than your hand. Each year, more people die from its bites than from sharks, crocodiles, and lions combined. Meet the fifth animal, the Brazilian wandering spider, the one that lives in your banana box. In 2005, a grocery store in Swindon, UK, received a normal shipment of bananas from Costa Rica. A warehouse worker began unpacking the boxes, as he had done hundreds of times before. He lifted a bunch and felt a sharp sting in his wrist. Assuming he had pricked himself on a sharp corner of the cardboard, he set the bananas aside. Moments later, his hands started swelling. He looked down at his wrist and saw a spider, a large brown one with characteristic long legs. The spider remained still, sitting on the cardboard. The man was rushed to the hospital. The warehouse was quarantined. The batch of bananas was destroyed. The next day, tabloids in the UK ran headlines about the killer spider in the supermarket. This wasn't the first incident and wouldn't be the last. The Brazilian wandering spider, scientifically known as Phonutria, meaning killer in Greek, was named by biologists who didn't exaggerate. Rather, they called things as they are. This is a large spider. Its leg span can reach up to 6 inches with a dense, muscular body covered in coarse hairs. Its coloration is unremarkable, brownish-gray, without patterns or bright spots. There's no traditional beauty to be found, but it possesses something else, an absolute, almost blatant confidence in its own danger. While most spiders flee when threatened, the wandering spider rears up on its hind legs, raises its front legs in the air, and sways side to side, like a boxer before a round. It doesn't hide, it warns. And if that warning fails, it strikes first. Its name reflects its lifestyle. Unlike many spiders that spin webs and wait for prey, Phonutria actively hunts. At night, it sets out in search of food and can cover significant ground across the forest floor, navigating through rocks and under tree bark. By day, it looks for shelter, finding it anywhere dark and damp, in bunches of bananas, fruit boxes, work gloves left overnight, boots by the door, folded tarps, or stacks of magazines on the floor. It doesn't specifically seek out humans, he's simply seeking shade and coolness, and he consistently finds it where people least expect to encounter a large, aggressive spider. The venom of the Phonutria, also known as the wandering spider, is a neurotoxic mix that affects multiple systems in the body simultaneously. Initial symptoms arise quickly, a burning pain at the bite site that radiates through the limb. Then comes heavy sweating, rapid heartbeat, and muscle spasms. For children, respiratory failure is a possible outcome. But there's one symptom that's often described with an unhealthy excitement in popular articles. In men, this spider's venom can cause prolonged, painful erections, lasting for hours and potentially leading to tissue damage without medical intervention. Medical professionals refer to this condition as priapism. Pharmaceutical companies see it as a research opportunity. Scientists in Brazil have isolated a component of the venom called PNTX2-6 and are exploring its potential as a treatment for erectile dysfunction. A spider that kills, yet simultaneously funds pharmaceutical research. Nature never ceases to amaze. In Brazil, several thousand bites from the wandering spider are reported each year. Most result in hospitalization, with the pain described as one of the most intense experiences a person can endure without mechanical injury. Fatalities are rare, thanks to the existence of an antidote developed several decades ago in Brazil, which is available in hospitals in major cities. However, in rural areas, where medical assistance may be hours away, the situation is very different. There, a wandering spider bite is a serious issue, not just an unpleasant accident. The story of how this spider travels the world is another tale. Bananas are hand-picked in tropical regions, placed in boxes, and shipped out on boats. The spider sneaks into a box, falls asleep in the coolness of the hold, and wakes up thousands of kilometers later in Europe, the USA, or Japan, far from the Amazon jungle. Customs authorities in several countries regularly discover them during cargo inspections. Sometimes they miss them. Bites have been reported in supermarkets and warehouses across the UK, Germany, the Netherlands, and Canada. In most cases, people survive because, in developed countries, emergency services arrive quickly. However, a few deaths have occurred worldwide, all starting in the same way: a person simply unpacking fruit. Customs officials in major ports are aware. Banana season means caution season. Special protocols, gloves, and visual inspections of every bunch are standard practice, but the spider can hide so well that even trained individuals sometimes fail to spot it. It waits in the dark, still, patient, ready for an encounter you never planned. There's something unsettling about the very idea, a deadly threat packed in a box of fruit, delivered right to your doorstep. But the next creature doesn't need any boxes or ships to cross oceans. It has lived alongside humans for thousands of years, in rivers and lakes, in deltas and swamps, in places where people seek water, fish, and coolness. And all this time, it learned one thing: to wait. Just lying at the bottom and waiting. Meet the sixth animal, the gharial, a smile 1.5 meters long. In 2020, Indian photographer Rajesh Kumar came to the banks of the Chambal River to capture the sunset. Chambal is one of the few rivers in India where nature remains almost untouched. Clear water, sandy banks, and lush vegetation along the shores. Rajesh knew that gharials lived here. He had heard about them, but had never seen one in person. That evening, he did. Right at the water's edge, just a meter away, lay a creature about 5 meters long, completely still. If it weren't for the characteristic narrow snout sticking out above the water, he might have mistaken it for a fallen tree trunk. Rajesh raised his camera. The gharial remained motionless. The photographer took a step forward, then another. He stopped suddenly, realizing he didn't know where the land ended and the water began, and that the creature he thought was a log was watching him with unblinking eyes. He slowly backed away. The gharial didn't move at all. Rajesh later said it was the longest minute of retreat in his life. The gharial is one of the oldest crocodilians on the planet. Its ancestors appeared back when the last dinosaurs roamed the earth, and since then, they have hardly changed. Why change when the design works? It can grow up to 6 meters long and weigh up to 300 kilograms. Its body is dark olive, bumpy, and covered in bony plates, nature's armor that has survived millions of years. Its legs are weak and poorly adapted for land movement. On land, gharials crawl in their bellies, clumsily and slowly. But in water, it becomes a perfect machine. A powerful tail propels its body to surprising speeds for such a large creature. But the most striking feature of the gharial is its snout, long and narrow, resembling the pincers of a giant jeweler. At the tip of an adult male's snout grows a round protrusion known as the gara, from which the animal derives its second name. This structure looks almost comical against its massive body, as if nature had mixed up parts and attached a heron's beak to a crocodile. Along this narrow snout are nearly 100 sharp teeth angled outward. They aren't designed for crushing bones or holding onto large prey. They're made for catching fish. The gharial delivers a lightning-fast sideways strike in the water, and its teeth snag the slippery fish like hooks before the prey even knows what happened. For a long time, it was believed that gharials feed exclusively on fish and pose no danger to humans. This reputation was convenient and partly deserved. Most documented encounters between gharials and people ended with the crocodile slipping back into the water. But the word most doesn't equal all. In the Gagara River in India, there have been decades of reported cases of people disappearing while crossing by foot. Bodies were later found, marked with distinctive signs. Locals had known the truth for a long time, but official science preferred to stick with the image of the harmless fish eater long after evidence pointed in another direction. A study published in the Herpetological Review documented several verified cases of gharial attacks on humans, including fatal encounters. The mechanics of these attacks differ from those of Nile or saltwater crocodiles. Unlike typical crocodiles, the gharial does not perform the infamous death roll that rips apart its prey. Instead, it simply holds its victim underwater with its hook-like teeth, making escape nearly impossible for a human. This isn't due to an extraordinary bite force, but because the teeth are angled inward. Any attempt to break free only drives them deeper into the flesh. Nature designed a trap that tightens rather than snaps shut. Today, the gharial is on the brink of extinction. In the wild, estimates suggest there are only between 100 and 250 adult gharials left, primarily in the rivers of northern India. Hunting, pollution, dam construction, and the destruction of sandy banks where females lay their eggs have decimated 98% of the population in the last 50 years. This creature, which survived the mass extinction of the dinosaurs, witnessed the rise and fall of various civilizations, and swam in these waters long before Homo sapiens left Africa, is now disappearing because we need sand for construction and space for fishing nets. The Indian government initiated a breeding program for gharials in captivity in the 1970s. Thousands of hatchlings were raised and released into rivers. Many perished. Young gharials are vulnerable to predators, poachers, and fluctuations in water levels. However, some survived. Biologists monitoring the dwindling colonies consistently report one thing: gharials are recovering more slowly than they were destroyed. Males require around 15 years to reach sexual maturity. 15 years is a long time for a creature living in a river filled with threats. On the banks of the Chambal River today, volunteers work to protect egg clutches from poachers and wild boars. They sleep right on the shore, just a few meters from the water where the gharials lie. When asked if they're scared, they share a common response: they're afraid of losing the last of them. But while we've been discussing creatures that dwell in or near the water, we've overlooked those who have conquered the skies. The next animal on our list is the only bird here that isn't poisonous, doesn't attack with sharp feathers, and doesn't strike from the water. It simply gazes down at you, assesses you, and if it decides you aren't a big enough threat, it strikes. One blow at the speed of an express train. Animal number 7, the cassowary, the bird that remembers when you were food. In 2017, in Florida, 75-year-old Marvin Hodge stepped into his backyard in the suburbs of Alachua. He had a small farm, chickens, and a few exotic birds he kept as a lifelong hobby. Among them was a cassowary, a large adult bird that Marvin raised from a chick, considering it docile. That morning, he slipped and fell into the enclosure. The cassowary reacted instantly. A kick landed squarely on Marvin's neck and shoulder. He bled out before the ambulance arrived. This was the first documented fatality from a cassowary in the United States in modern history. Local newspapers reported it as a tragic accident involving an exotic pet. Ornithologists reading those articles thought the same thing. He knew what kind of bird it was. He just forgot for a moment. Cassowaries inhabit the rainforests of New Guinea and northeastern Australia. Standing up to 6 feet tall and weighing as much as pounds, they are among the largest birds on the planet, the third largest after ostriches and emus. But while ostriches and emus look like large, slightly comical creatures from a children's book, the cassowary resembles a being from another era. Its body is covered in stiff black feathers that resemble horsehair. They don't look like feathers at all, but more like coarse fur. Its bare skin on the neck and face is bright blue and red, in rich, almost neon hues. On its head sits a hard, bony crest that looks like a helmet. Its orange-yellow eyes are unblinking, with vertical pupils. It looks at you as if it remembers the time when the ancestors of humans hid from its ancestors, rather than the other way around. The cassowary's weapon is the claw on the inner toe of each foot. This claw can grow up to 12 centimeters long. That's no exaggeration. 12 centimeters of sharp keratin, straight as a dagger, attached to a creature that weighs as much as an adult human and strikes with an unimaginable force until you see the consequences. The cassowary doesn't peck or bite. It leaps forward and strikes with its feet, like a kangaroo, only with claws. A single blow can puncture an adult's abdomen clean through. This is how most people have met their end in documented historical encounters in Australia and Papua. Not from multiple wounds, but from one precise strike that ended everything. Ornithologist Andrew Mack, who studied cassowaries in New Guinea in the 1990s, described in his field notes the moment he encountered a wild male on a forest trail. The bird stood 10 meters away, watching. Mac paused. The cassowary did not move. A minute passed. Then the bird slowly turned and vanished into the forest. Mac later recalled that there was no aggression in that gaze. There was something worse. Appraisal. The creature was assessing him and making a decision. He stood there, waiting for that decision, unable to either flee, cassowaries are faster than humans in the forest, or do anything else. He simply waited. In the wild, cassowaries rarely attack unless cornered, injured, or defending their chicks. Yet these three conditions can be met surprisingly easily in the rainforest. Tourists walking on trails while not watching their step can easily find themselves between a female and her nest. Hunters who injure the bird discover that a wounded cassowary doesn't flee, it turns around. Local tribes in New Guinea who have hunted cassowaries for thousands of years have developed special rituals before hunting and never go alone. The wisdom accumulated over generations can be summed up succinctly: don't underestimate a bird just because it's a bird. In New Guinea, the cassowary is known as the horned witch of the forest, not for any magical abilities, but because of its appearance and behavior. Locals use its claws as spearheads and knives. Both durable and sharp, they remain effective for years. Its feathers are crafted into ritual decorations. The meat of the cassowary is considered a delicacy, but hunting it is so dangerous that it has become a test of bravery rather than just a source of food. There's another important role of the cassowary in the ecosystem that's not often discussed. It is one of the key seed dispersers in the tropical forests of Australia and New Guinea. Large fruits that no other bird can swallow are entirely ingested by the cassowary. It digests the flesh and deposits the seeds throughout the forest, mixed with its natural fertilizer. Without the cassowary, many tree species struggle to reproduce. The seeds simply can't find soil without its help. An animal capable of killing a human with a single kick simultaneously serves as a gardener for an entire tropical forest. Nature doesn't distinguish between beauty and death, or benefit and danger. It simply does its work, and the cassowary does its part. Today, there are about 4,000 cassowaries left in Australia. They are endangered due to deforestation and vehicle collisions. Yes, one of the leading causes of death for these formidable birds is car accidents. In Queensland, there are road signs featuring the silhouette of a cassowary, similar to those warning of kangaroos or koalas. But these signs don't just alert drivers about the presence of wildlife, they serve as a reminder that someone else needs the road just as much as they do. 7 creatures lie behind, each having attacked, stung, paralyzed, or merely watched from the safety barrier. But the next animal doesn't attack at all. It barely moves. It simply lies on the bottom of the shallow water, flat and indistinguishable from the sand, waiting for you to step on it. And at the moment your foot descends onto what you mistook for a rock, something happens that surgeons in coastal hospitals see time and time again each summer. Animal 8, the stonefish, the most deadly creature you can step on. In 2015, Australian Rachel Shenton waded knee-deep into the water at the Great Barrier Reef. It was just another ordinary summer day. Shallow water, clear visibility. Suddenly, she felt a sharp pain in her foot, as if she had stepped on a piece of glass, only deeper and more vicious. She looked down. There lay a stone, just a stone, gray-brown, bumpy, covered in algae. But the stone had eyes. Rachel screamed and leaped out of the water. The pain escalated so rapidly in the following minutes that she lost the ability to stand. Her husband carried her to the car. In the hospital, doctors administered an antidote and immersed her foot in hot water, the only way to partially neutralize the venom. She spent 3 days in the hospital and couldn't walk properly for several weeks. All during that time, she repeated one thing: "I thought it was just a rock." The stonefish is a master of disguise. Known scientifically as Synencia varicosa, its shapeless, bumpy body is covered in growths and folds of skin, providing a perfect habitat for algae and small organisms. Its coloration blends seamlessly into its surroundings, appearing gray, brown, reddish, or greenish, whatever it takes to vanish. Lying motionless on the seafloor among rocks and coral, it can stay still for hours. Its eyes are hidden in skin folds, barely visible. There are no fins to give away its identity. and its shape is utterly formless. It looks just like a rock, one of thousands found on any reef. Distinguishing it from a real stone is nearly impossible without special training, and even trained divers can make mistakes. Running along the stonefish's dorsal fin are 13 spines, each connected to 2 venom glands. When at rest, the spines are pressed down and hidden beneath the skin. But if you step on it, for example, these spines spring up instantly, piercing through the sole of a rubber sandal with incredible force. The venom, known as verrucotoxin, is among the most potent of all fish toxins. It simultaneously attacks the heart, nervous system, and tissues. The pain is immediate and intensifying. It has been described by medical professionals as one of the most excruciating experiences a person can endure. Patients in hospitals have been known to request amputations just to escape the agony. This is not a metaphor. There are documented cases. Without treatment, the toxin spreads throughout the body in a few hours, causing tissue around the sting site to begin dying. Necrosis can cover a significant area, and in severe cases, surgeons are indeed forced to remove the affected tissues. If multiple spines penetrate at once, or if the sting occurs near major vessels, it can result in cardiac arrest. In Australia and the Indo-Pacific region, cases of stepping on stonefish are reported every year. This is not rare, but rather statistical. An antidote exists, and it is effective, but only if administered quickly. Hot water partially denatures the protein structure of the venom and lessens the pain, leading to a rather absurd piece of first aid advice. Immerse the affected foot in the hottest water bearable and rush to the hospital. The stonefish does not hunt actively. Instead, it lies in wait for prey to swim by. When the moment is right, it opens its mouth, huge and disproportionate to its body, and slurps in its victim at speeds of about 15 milliseconds. This is one of the fastest strikes of any fish on the planet. Watching it in slow motion is astonishing. Just a second ago, there was nothing, and now it's empty again, with only a slight change in the stonefish's shape. The small fish simply vanishes, sucked into oblivion. Local inhabitants of the Pacific Islands have known about the stonefish for thousands of years. On the Marshall Islands and in Micronesia, there are traditional techniques for safe walking in shallow waters, a unique shuffling gait that scares away the fish before a foot ever touches it. Tourists, however, are not taught this. Tourists are warned not to walk on the reef without shoes, but many do anyway. The stonefish, interestingly enough, is edible. In fact, in Japan, it's considered a delicacy. Known as oni-oni in Japanese, it's served as sashimi in restaurants throughout Osaka and Okinawa. Live stonefish are kept in aquariums right in the dining area, letting guests see what goes into their dish. Chefs carefully fillet the fish while wearing special protective gloves, methodically removing all 13 spines before the knife touches the flesh. The meat is white, tender, and nearly odorless. Regulars claim it's exquisite. There's a certain logic in nature where something can be both deadly and delicious. Here's an interesting fact that few people know. Stonefish can survive out of water for up to 24 hours. They can lie among the rocks of a dried-up reef during low tide, simply waiting for the tide to return. This means you might encounter them not just in water, but also on exposed reefs, along beaches after low tide, among seaweed and stones, where people often stroll and collect shells. They lie there. They wait. They're in no hurry. 8 creatures have their own strategies: poison, speed, camouflage, electricity, and spines. But the next animal on our list relies on none of those. It has no venom, no spines, and no camouflage. It's simply much bigger than you, vastly larger. It's annoyingly aggressive, as only those who have spent enough time in water next to humans who once thought it slow and harmless can be, until it proves the opposite with a single bite that can weigh a ton. Animal 9, the hippopotamus, the most dangerous creature in Africa. Wrapped in pink skin, in 2014, a boat capsized on the Niger River with 20 passengers aboard. Not due to a storm, not because of rapids. It was a hippopotamus that surfaced directly beneath the vessel and tossed the wooden craft into the air like a child flipping a toy boat in a bathtub. Of the 20 people, 12 survived. The rest drowned or succumbed to injuries. Local fishermen, who have worked on this river their entire lives, weren't surprised. They know the rule, passed down from father to son in Africa. A hippo in the water isn't just an animal, it's territory, and you just entered it without permission. The hippopotamus is the third largest land mammal on Earth, after the elephant and the rhinoceros. An adult male typically weighs between 8.5 to 2 tons and can reach lengths of up to 5 meters. But statistics about weight and size don't explain why it's the hippo, rather than the lion or crocodile, that kills more humans in Africa each year. The answer is simpler and more terrifying. Hippos live where people live. Rivers, lakes, and marshy banks provide sources of water, fish, and travel routes. Humans and hippos have shared the same spaces for thousands of years, and during that time, the hippo hasn't become any more docile. On the surface, it almost seems cute, with its round, barrel-shaped body, short, thick legs, and large head with a wide muzzle. Its skin is a pinkish gray, almost hairless, with sparse bristles. When a hippopotamus lies in the water, with its ears and nostrils poking out, it resembles a large living buoy. Tourists on safari snap pictures with delight. Children in zoos laugh when the hippo yawns and reveals its enormous pink mouth. This yawn is one reason why people mistakenly think they're harmless. They see a yawning hippo and think, "How funny!" But in reality, that wide-open mouth serves as a warning. It's a signal an experienced tracker understands well. Leave while I'm still giving you a warning. The tusks of an adult male can reach up to 50 centimeters in length, with lower incisors growing up to 40. Their bite force is around 500 kilograms per square centimeter, enough to snap a small boat in half. This is how documented attacks occur. The hippo does not chase boats or leap onto them. It just bites, once. And that's all it takes. Researcher Gordon Hunter, who studied hippo behavior in the Okavango Delta in Botswana, described an incident he witnessed firsthand. A young male, weighing about 2 tons and not yet dominant in his group, unexpectedly attacked an inflatable boat carrying 4 researchers. No one violated the distance, and no one made sudden movements. The hippo simply emerged from below and rammed its head into the side of the boat. The vessel capsized. Hunter found himself in the water just a meter away from the animal. He recalls the next few seconds poorly, only the sensation of the current, the cold water, and the thought that he needed to swim to shore without making any sudden movements. The hippo didn't pursue him. It had already accomplished its goal of removing intruders from its territory. All 4 made it to shore safely. Less fortunate was Kenyan fisherman Evans Leva in 2002 knots. He was returning from a night of fishing on the Tana River in a narrow wooden boat when he failed to see a hippo resting by the shore in the dark. The boat drifted too close. The hippo opened its mouth and clamped down on the boat along with Evans. Neighbors found debris at dawn and his body later. Following this incident, the village council banned night fishing in that section of the river for the entire next season. The ban was violated 3 weeks later. People needed fish. An interesting fact that changes perceptions of this animal is that the pink fluid secreted by a hippo's skin is neither sweat nor blood, as many believe. It's a unique substance that scientists call blood sweat due to its color. In reality, it contains natural antibiotics and sun protective components. The hippo invented its own sunscreen and antiseptic long before humans created pharmacies. Their hairless, scaleless skin would crack under the African sun and become infected from numerous injuries sustained in battles between males, but it doesn't crack or get infected thanks to this substance. Pharmaceutical companies have been studying its composition for decades, but so far, they haven't had success in synthesizing a similar product. Hippos can't swim in the strictest sense. They walk along the riverbed, push off, and float. On land, they can run at speeds of up to 30 kilometers per hour over short distances, faster than an average running human. At night, they come ashore to graze, traveling up to 10 kilometers in a single night. In the morning, they return to the water. Over the years, the paths they create to their feeding grounds turn into well-worn trails, used by other animals and sometimes even humans. Walking along a hippopotamus trail is both convenient and dangerous. It's flat, packed down, and leads precisely to where the hippo will be on its way back after dark. In Africa, there's a saying, "Run from a lion, freeze from an elephant, pray for a hippo." This isn't just a tourist slogan, it's a practical guide, proven over generations. Behind us are 9 animals, all existing somewhere in the jungles, rivers, oceans, and savannas of Africa. The next creature will completely shatter the sense of safe distance. Because it lives right beside you, perhaps even in the same city or the same room, it's smaller than your fingernail, and every year it kills more people than all 9 of the previous animals in our list combined. Animal number 10, the mosquito, the smallest serial killer in human history. In 1802, Napoleon Bonaparte's army lost more soldiers in Haiti than in any battle that year. Not to bullets, bayonets, or revolting slaves with machetes, though those were concerns too. The French troops were decimated by a disease that no one understood or knew how to treat at the time. Men burned with fever, lost consciousness, and died in tents within days. Of the 50,000 soldiers in the expeditionary force, fewer than 3,000 made it back to France. Napoleon lost an entire army, and with it, his dream of a French America. This defeat was one of the reasons he sold Louisiana to the United States, a decision that changed the map of North America. A military strategist or a politician didn't make that decision. It was made by a mosquito. Mosquitoes have existed on Earth for about 100 million years. They survived the extinction of the dinosaurs, several ice ages, and the rise and fall of countless civilizations. There are around 12 species found on every continent, including Antarctica, where one species lives during the brief Antarctic summer. The female mosquito, only the female, as males feed exclusively on nectar, is like a flying syringe with wings, locating its victim in seconds by detecting body heat, carbon dioxide, and the scent of lactic acid. She pierces the skin with her needle-like proboscis, injects saliva containing anticoagulants to keep the blood from clotting, and then she feeds. The entire process takes less than a minute. And it is in that saliva that lies everything that makes the mosquito the deadliest creature on the planet. Malaria has killed more people than all the wars in history combined. This is not an exaggeration. It's an estimate supported by most demographers and historians of epidemics. According to various estimates, malaria has claimed the lives of 30 to 50% of all people who have ever lived on Earth. It has changed the outcomes of battles, halted armies, and devastated cities. Rome suffered from it so regularly that the disease was named after the bad air of the Roman marshes, malaria, derived from the Italian mala aria. The air was not to blame. The culprit lurked in the swamps, emerging to feast on humans each evening at sunset. Today, malaria claims about 620 lives each year. That's right, every year. The majority of the victims are children under the age of 5 in sub-Saharan Africa. Then there's dengue fever, responsible for around 1,000 deaths annually and hundreds of millions of severe cases. The Zika virus, which sparked an epidemic from 2015 to 2016, resulted in thousands of children being born with microcephaly. Yellow fever, encephalitis, and lymphatic filariasis, a parasitic disease causing limbs to swell to the point of immobility. All of these threats come from one vector, one insect, one bite in the wrong place at the wrong time. Researcher Paul Reiter, who dedicated his life to studying mosquitoes and their role as disease carriers, once stated in an interview that if someone were to create a biological weapon with the characteristics of a mosquito, self-reproducing capabilities, an almost limitless range, adaptability to any climate, and the ability to carry multiple deadly agents simultaneously, this weapon would be immediately banned by all international treaties. Nature created this weapon for free, and it has been operating non-stop for 100 million years. The fight against mosquitoes is one of the costliest and most complex challenges in the history of medicine. DDT, banned in the 1970s due to its environmental impact, actually saved millions of lives while also wreaking havoc on ecosystems. Insecticide-treated mosquito nets remain one of the most effective tools available today. They are simple and inexpensive, but require regular replacement and proper use. In 2023, the World Health Organization approved the world's first malaria vaccine, RTSS, which reduces the risk of severe malaria in children by about 30%. 30%. After 40 years of development. This isn't a failure of science, it's the scale of the opponent. The most chilling aspect of humanity's history with mosquitoes isn't the death toll, but how deeply this creature has embedded itself into our biology. Sickle cell anemia, a hereditary condition that causes excruciating pain and shortens life, has persisted in human populations precisely because carriers of one copy of the gene possess partial protection against malaria. Nature produced a disease that selected for survivors, who in turn carried another disease as the price of survival. And they passed it on to their children. Millions of people today are born with sickle cell anemia, living evidence of how long mosquitoes have exerted their pressure on our species. In laboratories across several countries today, genetically modified male mosquitoes are being bred to carry a sterility gene. When released into the wild, they mate with female mosquitoes, and the offspring fail to survive. In controlled experiments, mosquito populations in specific areas have been reduced by up to 90%. Ecologists are raising an uncomfortable question: what will happen to the ecosystem if mosquitoes disappear? Birds, bats, fish, many of them rely on mosquito larvae and adults for their sustenance. Pollination of certain plants relies on male mosquitoes. Remove 100 million years of evolution from an ecosystem, and no one can predict the consequences. The most lethal creature on the planet may prove to be irreplaceable. Right now, all around the world, while you're watching this video, a female mosquito lands on someone's skin. She pierces, drinks, and flies away. This happens billions of times every day. Most bites are harmless. Some change lives. A few even end them. And no one who gets bitten knows which category they fall into at that moment. 10 animals behind us, 3 ahead. If you thought the list was becoming less astonishing as we go, the next creature swims in the ocean, looks like a ghost from another world, and its tentacles keep killing even after its host is already dead. Animal number 11, the box jellyfish, the invisible death that strikes without warning. In January 2002, on a beach in Cairns, Australia, 9-year-old Jamie Sexton waded into the water up to his waist. It was a bright day, the sea was calm, and the beach was crowded. Just moments later, he screamed, not out of fright, but with a sound that adults on shore later described as inhuman. He bolted from the water. Dark purple streaks lined his arms, legs, and stomach, like marks from a burning wire wound around his body. An ambulance arrived within 7 minutes. Doctors administered an antidote right in the vehicle. Jamie survived but spent 2 weeks in the hospital, and the marks on his skin took months to fade. The lifeguard who pulled him from the water suffered burns on his hands from the tentacles that clung to the boy's skin. The tentacles continued to sting, even when detached from the jellyfish, even when dead. The box jellyfish is not just any jellyfish. It is a distinct class of animals that has evolved separately from ordinary jellyfish, charting an entirely different course. Its body is a transparent cube with rounded corners, measuring between 15 and 30 centimeters tall. It is practically invisible in the water, clear, colorless, and nearly shadowless. On a sunny day, you might not spot it just half a meter from your eyes. Beach flags and warning signs alert about jellyfish, but no sign helps if you're already in the water and it's right next to you. From each of the 4 corners of the cube hang up to 15 tentacles. Each tentacle can stretch up to 3 meters long and is covered in billions of stinging cells called nematocysts. Each nematocyst is a microscopic harpoon under pressure that fires at the slightest touch, faster than any other cell in nature, faster than a nerve impulse can reach the brain. You touch a tentacle, and thousands of microharpoons are already beneath your skin, injecting venom while your brain hasn't even registered that something has happened. Pain is what you feel a second later. The poison was already at work before that. The venom of the species Chironex fleckeri is officially the deadliest marine toxin on the planet. It attacks 3 systems simultaneously: the cardiovascular, nervous, and skin tissue systems. Death can occur within 3 to 5 minutes in severe cases, faster than a person can swim to shore. This is not an exaggeration. There have been documented cases of victims losing consciousness in the water and drowning before anyone could react. The official cause of death in such cases is drowning. The real reason? 3 meters of transparent tentacles that went unnoticed. Since the start of official statistics, the number of deaths caused by box jellyfish off the coast of Australia has surpassed the combined total of fatalities from sharks, crocodiles, and venomous snakes over the same period. In Southeast Asia, Thailand, the Philippines, Vietnam, jellyfish kill dozens of people every year, although the actual numbers are likely underreported. Many coastal villages lack access to medical facilities and don't formally record causes of death. In the Philippines, local fishermen refer to the jellyfish season as when the sea is angry and simply avoid going into the water. No flags, no signs, just collective knowledge passed down through generations. The box jellyfish has 24 eyes, 6 on each side of its cube-shaped body. 4 of these eyes are structured almost like human eyes, complete with cornea, lens, and retina, allowing the jellyfish to see color and shape. Yet it has no brain, none at all, no central organ for processing information. 24 eyes that can see, and no brain to make sense of what they see. How it processes visual information and navigates its environment remains one of the key open questions in neurobiology. Researchers from the University of Copenhagen found that box jellyfish actively avoid obstacles, changing direction mere centimeters before impact, doing so without a single neuron in the way we understand nervous systems. Nature has crafted vision without reasoning and placed it in a creature that can kill a human in 5 minutes. An antidote for the venom of Chironex fleckeri exists. It was developed in Australia during the 1960s. It is effective if administered quickly, but it is not foolproof. In cases of massive contact with tentacles, the venom can inflict damage on the heart muscle before the antidote begins to take effect. First aid at the beach involves rinsing the affected area with vinegar, which deactivates any unfired nematocysts. Fresh water and alcohol, on the other hand, can trigger remaining cells to fire. Many people instinctively pour water from a bottle to help, but this just makes things worse. Vinegar is available at every Queensland beach and designated stations, but you won't find it on most beaches around the world. There is a much smaller species of box jellyfish, the irukandji, which is about the size of a fingernail. Its tentacles are almost invisible, even when in hand. The sting is nearly painless at the moment of contact. However, 20 to 30 minutes later, irukandji syndrome sets in, an escalating pain throughout the body, a hypertensive crisis, and a feeling of impending doom so intense that patients in hospitals beg doctors to end their suffering. This is not an exaggeration. It's a direct quote from medical reports from several Australian hospitals. A tiny transparent jellyfish, the size of a fingernail, causing a syndrome described as the worst experience a person can endure and survive. Every summer, Australian beaches close down for several months, from October to May, to protect swimmers from jellyfish. Locals know that while the beach is open, the stinger nets, special barriers against jellyfish, only cover a small area close to shore. Beyond that lies the open ocean, home to creatures you won't see until they're right next to you. There are 11 species out there, each with its own way of attacking. They sting, zap, shoot spines, bite, or kill invisibly. Then there's the 12th creature. It doesn't do any of those things. It just watches you from above. Beautiful, majestic, with a wingspan taller than you are. If you think eagles or falcons symbolize freedom and nobility, this next story will change how you see the sky forever. The 12th animal, the frilled lizard, the dragon that pretends to be harmless. Hold on. Before you read on, imagine this scene. The Australian bush, early morning, a reddish, dusty road stretching into the horizon. A lizard sits on a tree branch by the roadside. Small, brownish-gray, about the size of an adult's forearm. It's still, halfway closing its eyes, looking drowsy and completely harmless. A tourist steps out of their car with a phone in hand. They take a step towards the tree, then another. In the next second, something happens that makes them jump back and drop their phone. Suddenly, a massive frill of skin unfurls around the lizard's neck, bright orange, red, with dark spots patterned like stained glass. It spreads from shoulder to head, like a dragon's cloak from a children's book, almost twice the size of its body. At the same time, the lizard opens its mouth wide, pink, moist, vividly colored inside, and lets out a sharp hiss that feels like the ground vanishing beneath the tourist's feet. All this happens in the blink of an eye. From a sleepy branch emerges a monster. The frilled lizard, or Chlamydosaurus kingii, is found in northern Australia and southern New Guinea. It can grow up to 90 centimeters and weigh around 900 grams. When folded, its frill lies flat against its neck and shoulders like a crumpled scarf. Unnoticeable, unimpressive, just skin folds. In this state, the lizard looks so ordinary that you could walk by just steps away without noticing it. This is how it hunts and how it often avoids predators. Just another lizard on a branch, nothing to see here. But the moment it feels threatened, or decides it's time to impress, the disguise instantly transforms into something entirely different. The frill opens up, thanks to cartilaginous rods that extend outward like spokes of an umbrella. The surface area of an open frill on a large male can reach the size of a small plate. Its bright colors, orange, red, yellow, with dark streaks, are visible from afar, and unlike anything found in the Australian bush, it doesn't just warn, it stuns. Nature has crafted not a shield, but a psychological assault. The creature suddenly appears 3 times larger, brighter, and scarier than just a second ago. The effect is so powerful that it works even on people who understand what's happening. Herpetologists who catch frilled lizards for study report the same experience. You know with your mind that it's just a small lizard and it's harmless, but your body still recoils. The reflex runs deeper than knowledge. The frill and gaping mouth trigger something ancient, embedded in our nervous system since the days when our ancestors lived in a world where a suddenly enlarged creature with its mouth open meant one thing: run. If the initial display doesn't deter you, the frilled lizard does something even more unexpected. It rises onto its hind legs and runs, not on all fours like most lizards, but upright on 2 legs, with its body elevated and front limbs stretched out, like a tiny running dinosaur. Its tail balances behind it. Sometimes the frill remains expanded while it runs. It can reach speeds of up to 25 kilometers per hour over short distances. The sight is so cinematic and surprising that several filmmakers have used that moment to create dinosaur imagery in their movies, including the famous scene with the Dilophosaurus in Jurassic Park. Spielberg didn't invent the spitting dinosaur with a frill out of thin air. He drew inspiration from a real creature and made it a bit larger. Now, let's talk about why this striking theatrical lizard made the list of creatures that could potentially kill you in 30 seconds. The honest and somewhat uncomfortable answer: it won't kill you directly. A frilled lizard's bite is painful, with sharp teeth, but it isn't venomous, and its size doesn't allow it to inflict fatal harm on an adult. So, why is it included? Because it kills indirectly, and it does so regularly. The first mechanism is road accidents. Frilled lizards live along roads and cross them in their characteristic bipedal sprint. Drivers seeing this for the first time lose control, not out of fear, but out of astonishment. A creature that suddenly rises onto its back legs and bolts across the road like a tiny dinosaur simply doesn't fit into the driver's neural landscape. Police reports in northern Queensland and the Northern Territory contain multiple cases of accidents involving frilled lizards, either as a direct cause or contributing factor. The second mechanism involves heart reactions. It sounds almost comical, but the recorded medical cases stop being funny. Older tourists or those with cardiovascular issues who lean down to a bush or pick up a log where a lizard is resting may find themselves face to face with an orange-red display and an open mouth just inches from their nose. The reflexive shock triggers a sharp adrenaline rush. In most cases, it results in just an increased heart rate and trembling hands, but not always. The third mechanism involves snakes. Frilled lizards inhabit the same areas as some of the most venomous snakes in Australia. When startled by the frill display, a person may take a hasty step back, only to land right where they stopped looking. In the Australian bush, what lies behind you is often more intriguing than what is in front of you. The thorny devil holds a special place in Australian culture. This lizard was featured on the 2-cent coin from the 1966 to the 1988. Indigenous people in northern Australia have depicted it in rock art for thousands of years, symbolizing deception and hidden strength, a creature that appears small until it chooses to become large. There's a story among the Aboriginal people of Arnhem Land about the thorny devil that is told to children. In this tale, the lizard is neither a predator nor a hero. It is a teacher. It shows that the most important aspect of you is what you can reveal to your enemy when you are cornered. Size doesn't matter. What truly matters is how big you can become in an instant. The children listen closely, remember, and never disturb lizards resting on branches again. 12 animals, 12 stories of beauty that can deceive. 12 reasons to observe more closely. At the water, the branches, the ground beneath your feet, the sky above. There's one more to discuss, the 13th, and it is the only one on this list that does not hide, disguise itself, warn, or flee. It simply glides forward, slowly, confidently. With a smile that nature painted on its face millions of years ago, one that humans have interpreted as friendliness for ages. The 13th animal, the tiger shark, the smile that's 400 million years old. In September 2003, off the coast of Hawaii, 13-year-old Bethany Hamilton was lying on her surfboard waiting for a wave. It was early morning, the water was clear and warm, and she was surrounded by friends and her aunt. A typical morning for a girl who had been surfing since age 5 and dreamed of becoming a professional. She lazily dipped her left hand into the water, just as surfers do while waiting for a wave. In the next instant, something happened that she later described in one word: a tug. It was strong, brief, and painless. Pain came later. A tiger shark about 4 meters long bit off her arm just above the elbow and vanished beneath the waves. Bethany lost 60% of her blood as her friends rushed her to shore. She survived. 26 days after surgery, she returned to the water. 2 years later, she won a national surfing championship with one arm. But that's another story. The story of the tiger shark ended that morning precisely as it should have. The shark did exactly what it had been doing for millions of years. It simply hadn't known that the arm belonged to a human. The tiger shark, Galiocerdo cuvier, ranks second in shark attacks on humans, just after the great white shark. It can grow up to 5.5 meters long and weigh up to 800 kilograms. Its body is streamlined, grayish-blue, with dark stripes across the back seen in younger individuals, hence the name. In adults, these stripes fade and almost disappear. The snout is blunt and wide, with large eyes on either side. Unlike the pointed profile of the great white, the tiger shark appears almost benevolent. With a wide, slightly upward-turned mouth, almost a smile, tiger sharks don't look intimidating in photographs. Underwater photographers often note the same thing. These sharks appear curious. This feeling can be misleading and dangerous precisely because it's real. They really are curious. The tiger shark is one of the few species confirmed to have an opportunistic diet. This scientific term means it eats just about everything: fish, turtles, dolphins, seabirds, rays, other sharks, and carrion. In the stomachs of captured tiger sharks, researchers have found license plates, pieces of rubber, bottles, chunks of wood, old clothing, and parts of boats. One shark caught off the coast of Australia had a human hand with a tattoo inside it, which helped identify a murder victim and solve a crime. This shark became evidence in a criminal case, unknowingly carrying this proof as a dark archive. This omnivorous nature makes the tiger shark more dangerous than the great white in certain situations. Great whites often let go of a human after the first bite. Researchers believe they are merely testing to see if the taste is familiar, like that of a seal, before swimming away. The tiger shark does not swim away. It sees its prey and continues on. Attack statistics support this difference. The fatality rate in tiger shark attacks is significantly higher compared to great whites, because the attack is more likely to be completed. The teeth of the tiger shark are uniquely structured compared to most sharks. They are wide, with serrated edges and a distinctive lateral curve resembling hooks. This design allows them not only to bite, but to slice and twist simultaneously. The shell of a sea turtle, one of nature's toughest materials, is easily crushed by a tiger shark, like breaking a cookie. Their bite pressure reaches about 300 kilograms per square centimeter, while the pressure that breaks human bones is approximately 10 times less. Tiger sharks possess an organ rarely mentioned in popular articles, the ampullae of Lorenzini. This system of electroreceptors, located in their snouts as tiny pores, detects electric fields created by the muscle contractions of living creatures in the water. Every movement of your hand, every muscle contraction in your legs while swimming, these are electric signals that a tiger shark can read from up to 7 meters away. In murky waters, at night, under zero visibility, they know exactly where you are, how you move, and roughly what your size is. You may not see them, but they have seen you for a long time. Hawaii is a unique meeting point for humans and tiger sharks. Encounters between the two happen more frequently here than anywhere else in the world. It's not because there are more sharks. It's about the culture. Hawaiians historically spend considerable time in the water, surfing, diving, fishing, or just swimming. The ocean is part of life, not just a place for occasional visits. Locals understand tiger sharks just as city dwellers understand traffic jams. Unpleasant, sometimes dangerous, but part of reality. Tourists, however, may not know, or if they do, they think it happens to others, not themselves. Biologists studying tiger sharks off the coast of Hawaii using acoustic tags have made an unexpected discovery. Pregnant females migrate from the open ocean to the shores of the islands, traveling thousands of kilometers, and they stay in coastal waters at depths of 5 to 15 meters. This is precisely where people swim and surf. Scientists suggest that shallow waters give the future offspring a better chance of survival due to fewer large predators. So, the most dangerous encounters with tiger sharks near Hawaii happen not because the sharks are hunting humans, but because pregnant females come to give birth, right where people are enjoying themselves. The tiger shark is listed as a vulnerable species. Its population has dramatically declined in recent decades due to commercial fishing. Fins are used in soup, a delicacy in several Asian countries, and their meat and skin are used in various products. Every year, people kill around 100 million sharks of all species, a staggering number. In contrast, approximately 80 people are killed by sharks worldwide each year. The ratio clearly shows that we are far more dangerous to them than they are to us. Jacques Cousteau, who spent more time underwater than most people do in forests or mountains, had this to say about sharks. They are neither malicious nor benevolent. They are perfect. 400 million years of evolution have honed every detail: their body shape, tooth structure, electroreceptors, and the sense of smell capable of detecting blood in minute concentrations. A shark doesn't decide to attack a person. It simply does what nature has designed it to do, flawlessly, without hesitation, and without malice. This is the main message of our entire list. 13 creatures, ranging from a tiny octopus to a 4-meter-long shark. None of them wish you harm. None intentionally hunt humans, except in rare, extreme situations. They simply exist. They live as they have for eons before humans appeared, and will continue to live long after we are gone. The beauty we see in them is not camouflage or a trap. It's merely a byproduct of millions of years of evolution. We gaze at the blue rings of the octopus and see decoration, while nature intended it as a warning. The difference between these two perspectives, sometimes it's the difference between life and death. If this video has changed the way you view wildlife, please like and comment on which of the 13 creatures surprised you the most. Our next episode is already in the works, featuring animals that don't kill in 30 seconds. They kill slowly. So slowly, you might not even notice it happening.